Good evening, folks. My voice is very scratchy. I'm just fighting my way through a cold, so bear with me. If I don't talk very much, that'll be why. This is the beautiful new iniBuilds Airbus A350. This is the Dash 900. That is a lot of ANA. I don't even know what that airline's actually called. That's a lot of the same airplanes here, brought to us by PSXT and Real Traffic. We're near Tokyo. Airplanes are taking off everywhere. Lots of activity. Hoping we're not going to have any issues. We shall see. We'll get into the cockpit. Let me just go and pop out those displays for myself here, and then we'll get her fired up and go from there and see how things go. I did a test configuration and takeoff yesterday, and it was pretty good until for some reason I stopped on the taxiway for a little bit to configure some stuff, set the parking brakes and all that, and then afterwards, plane was just rolling backwards on its own, like as if it was very strange. I couldn't make it stop except for slewing the airplane, which then caused the FMS to be entirely reset, which I think is because the sim thought it landed. Still, that was quite weird. So, we shall see. We have some nice wing views. This is actually a really nice screenshot right here. So, yeah, we'll see. Let's, we have, this is like such a modern cockpit for an Airbus. Just all big screens. What is that? 6 big screens. This flight deck is quite large too. A lot of space behind. There is a full cabin. We can open the door. We might go take a walk back there at some point later. Now I can't reach the click spot to close it. There we go. We might have a look at that during cruise, I think, because we'll have obviously quite a bit of time at cruise, so we'll work on that then. So let's see if I can get this thing powered up. Batteries. And ground power is connected. So we'll turn that on. I do love these sounds. So good. ADIRS oxygen, emergency exit lighting armed, and all passenger signs on. Now we're not going to play with GSX stuff today, even though it has some GSX integration. There's a lot of cautions on that screen. I don't remember if I saw that last time. Probably. I'm assuming those are going to go away as things get loaded up here. I hope. Yep, there we go. That looks much nicer now. We're also using say intentions, which should have a nice screen, a nice section at the top of the stream there with some stats. I didn't realize this until just the other day that they have a streamer bar, they call it, that they provide free if you use say intentions, and it just kind of like it puts all the relevant information right there, which is kind of nice. Okay, so this is a problem. This plane does not use standard radio frequencies. We're going to have to dial them ourselves. That's going to be a problem. And it also does not seem to like to. There's some really weird delays. Like I'm turning my hardware and I'm trying to change the frequency. That's going to be fun. And switching that over does work kind of. That's odd. So let's see. We'll see how that goes. Flight up status. We are Japan Air. We're going to import from SimBrief. Flight number 307. Japan Air 307. Flying from Romeo Juliet Tango Tango to Romeo Juliet Foxtrot Foxtrot. So we can do all of our own pushback here. We're going to try to use GSX. Say intentions, because again, I wanted to have one less variable with GSX. There wasn't a new version released after, so I just didn't. I don't know. I didn't feel comfortable that it would just do all this stuff. So we'll do that another time, all the loading. But we can import our load sheet, and we can set our fuel and zero fuel weight. So it does give you the full OFP as well. Our flight level 400. That's kind of nice to have these sections here. I do like this. Takeoff performance will come back to landing performance later. The charts do not seem to be working in 2020. That's all over the iniBuilds Discord, so we're just not going to have that, I guess. It looks like they have the en route chart working. So that's actually kind of cool. We'll look at this. They have a nice map on the ND as well that we can look at. So for now, we are fine here. We'll come back to the takeoff performance. We'll switch over to, now that we have fuel loaded, we'll go get the APU started. Flap is open, start it. Also forgot our nav lights. So we'll go down to the center console here and we'll walk through. I had meant to watch another video on this. I think I can do this. I don't know if this is the correct flow, so by no means take this as the correct way to do it. But I'm going to start with the initialization. We're going to company flight plan request, which essentially should be loading the thing that we just loaded on the EFB from SimBrief. Just going to clear the message down here that talks about aligning IRS. We know we have to do that. We're doing that. In fact, we're just waiting another 3 minutes for that to happen. Received company flight plan. We're going to insert it. So we've got our flight number, from to, alternate, company route, flight level 400. We saw that. Econ mode, cost index 160, cruise temperature. We can do company wind request. I think that's done it. That's all we need to do here. So in fact, if we go to flight plan, yeah, there's our route now. So we'll get our departure and stuff from ATC here in a moment. In fact, we can try asking for that now. Let's see. Oh, I don't have that configured, do I? Oh, that's right. I don't have the autopilot disconnect bound on there yet either. Well, we might figure that out mid-flight, because what better time to turn off the autopilot than mid-flight? Stand by. I'm missing something. What plane did I configure that on? Hmm. The hell? Oh, right. Sorry. I'm getting it figured out here. There's our IRS is aligned. That's not the right one. There we go. Okay. Okay, nav accuracy upgraded because we have our IRSs now, GPS primary. That's good. We've got a map on the ND. Everything's looking good there. The APU bleeds on as well. Let's get our clearance and see what we can figure out here. It'll be departure. Japan Air 307, ready to copy IFR clearance, please. Oh no, it's being it thinks they're all turned off, all the radios. Let me see if I can if I can fix that. Let's try that again. Japan Air 307, ready to copy IFR clearance. Okay, I think that fixed it. However, I did not actually hear. Say Intentions has an audio problem sometimes, I swear. Oh. I had to set the volume because it's no longer controlled by the airplane because it doesn't know about the airplane's radios. Let's see if this would work. It did tell me Japan 307, ready to copy IFR clearance. Oh, come on. Okay, I guess that means we can't use Say Intentions. That's super annoying. I'm gonna use their Discord real quick and see if I can get an answer. I feel like those options should have done it, but they didn't seem to. Okay, well, let's okay, you actually have to. You actually have to turn these on. Look at that. Okay, so they were actually turned off. Let me just try that again. Japan Air 307 ready to copy IFR clearance. Okay, now it's working. Good. So we are back in action. Information Lima, clear to Fukuoka. After departure, fly radar vectors to Tiara, then as filed. Departure runway 05, initial climb to 3,000 feet. Departure on 119.1, squawk 6624, Japan Air 307. So we don't get a SID. We just get radar vectors, but we'll get the runway. So we'll put that in. Ground on 122.075, Japan Air 307. We'll go set our squawk on the serve page. It was 6624. We might as well go ahead and turn that on. We wouldn't turn TCAS on here, but I'm going to do it now because I'm lazy and we're a bit behind. So I think that means we are kind of ready for the takeoff stuff and then pushback. Let me try to figure out if I can manage to dial over to ground. Oh, it put it in there this time. Oh, so it didn't do it last time because I guess it was actually not turned on, so it couldn't do it. I'm having a hard time getting it to switch over, though. There we go. It's like I have to look at it for it to happen. That's weird. Okay, so we are all ready for push and start. Let's just get our altimeter set properly here. We want it to be not inches. We want it to be in hectopascal. And how come we're nav mode for that? That's interesting. I want to be here. Actually, the really cool thing that we'll get to here in a minute is this mode right there, the airport map. Let's see if we can get it to load. Yep, there we go. It has loaded. We can zoom in on our current location. So runway 05, where even is that? Oh boy, it's way down there all by itself. Cool. All right, we'll have a nice long taxi then. Ground Japan Air 307, we are ready for push and start. Push and start approved, face northeast, Japan Air 307. All right, let's see if I can manage to dial us to... Boy, this the radios are just wonky. Let's see, I think this is the ramp frequency. Cockpit to ground, we're ready for push. Please connect to tug. So we're going way back there, this runway here that goes this way. Whoop, that one, someone's taken off there. So that is an active runway in real life right now, so that's good. Okay, let's get our fuel pumps on. We've already got the bleed on. I don't think that should really be on. I feel like I have some warning lights on here that don't need to be on. Well, actually, maybe. Cockpit to ground, we are ready for push. Please start. Parking brake. Parking brake released. Well, it's lifting us. Let's see. I was told that this works on this plane. I forgot to do the performance stuff. We'll do that after the engines are started. Affirmative. Starting engine 2. Let's look at engine 2. We can watch it from here. It doesn't have the sound in this camera view, unfortunately. So maybe we should watch from the outside to get... And that's engine 2 started. Starting engine 1. Yeah, we missed the weight initialization, so it's not going to be happy about that. I mean, it's there. Whatever, it's close enough. It's Sane Tensions does an interesting pushback. Like it gets you there, but it doesn't look as natural as GSX's. We have 2 good engines. Parking brake is set, ready to disconnect. We'll do our takeoff performance. Oh, we get a flex takeoff this time. Nice. And sent to this FMS. Thanks so much. Take care. But I think we need to actually accept it on here. Under the initialization page again. Takeoff performance. Confirm takeoff speeds. That's pretty low speeds. We must not be that, well, we're decently heavy. But flex 42, it's a long runway, flaps 1. Everything here looks good. Right. We've got radar vectors, and then we will go direct probably to Tiara when we're told. We go back to the ground frequency. It's very finicky. Alright, just going through here. We want flaps 1. We should have had our beacon on already. Taxi light on. Ignition can off. Engines are on. Ground spoilers to arm. Auto brake. RTO. This is kind of nice. This one doesn't have auto brake settings anymore. It must all be done through the FMS. It just has an auto brake button, period. So that's kind of different. Let's do a takeoff config test. That's normal. Perfect. Ground Japan Air 307. We're ready to taxi to runway 05, please. I like the container ships straight ahead. Taxi to runway 05 via Echo 9er, Charlie, Echo, Delta, Delta 2, Japan Air 307. Oh, we get to go over some bridges. Delta 2. All right. It's a long taxi, but it's a pretty straightforward taxi. Taxi lights are on. I think we are good to go with the taxi. A lot of this is automatic in this one, so like even the trim configuration, it just does it, I believe, once everything's loaded in. So now we have our nice I don't know what this is actually called exactly, but this map here in the airplane. Ooh, by the way, we taxi like a rocket ship. Here's Echo 9er. Actually, I think this is Echo right here. So, yep, it's Echo. In fact, we can kind of see it. It's a little bit difficult to show you guys up close and see it for myself. Hey, screw it. How's it going? But I can kind of try to zoom in on it a little bit and hopefully steer us not into any buildings. But this is really cool, like having this full-on map here. I think the fly-by-wire A380 also has this. I gotta check that out. I'm gonna fly that sometime in the next week as well. They share a lot of the similar systems, the 380 and the 350. But so we're gonna go all the way down here. It should be pretty neat. We've got a plane there that's not sure if it's going forward or backwards, so it's just testing its brakes. Speaking of that, I should do a flight controls check while we taxi. So show up in there? It does. If you look down here, the ailerons. Now the pitch up, full down, and let's see if the rudder is disconnected from. It's not, but I think there's actually an option in the EFB. Let me just check that out. Options, and I'm going to keep an eye on that to make sure we don't taxi into something, hopefully. Auto tiller disconnect, yes. I'm going to just turn that on and see what that does for us. No, that didn't change anything. I'm not sure what that's supposed to do. Either way, we've got good flight controls. Got two good engines. Oh, by the way, APU can come off. Yeah, I have some sort of a warning light on my overhead, but that's not relevant. That must be something I have not quite programmed correctly. So while we taxi, I'm going to try to take a look and see if I can figure out what the deal is with that. It's my electronics warning light. If any of the batteries fault, okay, I think it's just spat being spat. Yeah, all right. It just didn't update for some reason. So there's a bridge. We're going to go over this bridge. This is kind of cool, actually. It's a long taxi, but it's arguably one of the more interesting taxiways. We're going to take the left one, which is Echo. The one on the right is Romeo. I have to look up. There's this taxi button here that you can click and the light comes on, but I don't actually know what exactly it does. So I'm going to go to the external camera here just while we taxi over the bridge because I think it's going to look pretty cool. Whew, that was a little bumpy there. This is kind of really neat here. I think the A350 is such a gorgeous airplane. Also, they have noise cancelling headphones inside, which you can bind to a button. I do love that stuff. I think every airplane should do that. There's actually two things, and I'm going to say this and then someone's going to do it and make some money out of it. But I've always thought if I'm ever going to make an actual add-on for a simulator, it would be a universal noise cancelling headphones and sunglasses that you can put on. That's what I would do if I was making an add-on. But I know nothing about making add-ons for Flight Sim, so maybe I'll figure that out. Still seems relevant. Okay, we're going to stay behind this one here. I just realized you probably don't even hear say intentions because unfortunately OBS only has 2 audio inputs. Let me just fix that real quick. Oh, seriously, you don't have any sound? No, there must be some. Japan Air 307 contact tower 118.1. Sorry about that. Japan Air 307, holding short runway 05 at Delta 2, ready for departure.
Japan Air 307, heavy, Tokyo Tower, runway 05, wind 095 at 5, cleared for takeoff.
I guess we are heavy. Japan Air 307 heavy, ready, cleared for takeoff, runway 05, thank you. Landing lights. This plane does not have runway turn-off lights. Strobes on. I think that's all we got to do. We already turned TARA on earlier. We will switch away now from this nice map view back to our regular arc. We have our vertical profile there as well. And we should be good to go. Let's give it a whirl. We've got a flex takeoff. Mant flex SRS runway autothrust blue. Here we go. Oh, the rudder is very... Why is it so... Okay. Interesting. I remember it being this overly sensitive yesterday, but oh, alright. It does spool up way too fast. We're going way too quick, I feel. It's a heavy airplane. But we are airborne. Gear up. Could also turn the terrain on. And then lever climb so quickly. All right. Over to departure, Japan Air 307. I hope this is the departure. Japan Air 307, 2,300 feet. Japan Air 307 at 2,700 feet. That's not the right frequency. Cool. Japan Air 307, 3,300 feet.
Japan Air 307, heavy, Tokyo, departure. Radar contact. Clear direct Tiara. Climb flight level 210.
Cleared direct Tiara, climb flight level 210, Japan Air 307. Still flying this by hand, so this is going to be interesting. Let's see if we can get the direct to Tiara going here. So we've got Tiara, click on that. From position direct to, insert direct to. There we go. We've now got a nice little line drawn here. And we're speeding like crazy. Let's get that fixed. I want to hand fly for a bit because I want to get a feel for how this hand flies. And I actually love hand flying Airbuses. Ground spoilers do not need to be armed anymore. Beacon light off. That's not true. We'll fix that when the autopilot's on. That's something with my hardware bindings, so this is a good test, I guess. It is indeed off for some reason. Oh, I know why. Okay. We'll get that fixed. Got the left window. We can see where we just came from. Somewhere down there will be the airport. We get some weather here too, so
Departure FedEx 539, please pass 1400 for level 200.
FedEx 539 departure, radar contact.
alright, we'll get the autopilot on here. That's because that's 10,000 feet. That's usually my cutoff from hand flying.
Japan 307, climb flight level 280.
Up to flight level 280, Japan Air 307.
Ashana 107, contact control, 120 decimal 5.
120.5, Ashana 107 today.
Stay.
Okay, now I'm actually curious. Does the how's the bar look at the top of the screen?
Departure FedEx 5393, request climb speed at
Oh my
265.
god.
FedEx 5393, radar, maintain 265 northward.
265.
FedEx 5393, turn right heading 300, vector 26, main vector mode 200.
Right, 300, climb maintain 200. FedEx
Standard
539.
barometer set. Let's clear the speed limit exceeded message real quick, because if it didn't happen, discontinued ahead, we've dealt with that, so we're all good here. She actually flies quite nice. It's just I think she climbs maybe too fast and definitely spools up too fast. Like it's a big plane, doesn't feel like one. Hand flying is actually not bad. Feels pretty decent. This is from someone who has no real flight experience whatsoever.
307, climb flight level 330.
Flight level 330 for Japan Air 307. Okay, so what was I looking for? Let's see. What does this bar look like at the top?
FedEx 5393.
En route. Speed. Actually looks really, really good. I love that. That's great that Say Intentions provides that. A little bit of advertising for them, which of course is totally fine, but that's very cool. I like that. I once built one of those bars myself on a stream, and while certainly possible, it's just a bunch of work, and this is just nice. You slap one URL on there, they've got some configuration options. Not a whole lot, but enough.
Departure UPS 116, passing 2,000
Bella Monta.
Trying to maintain flight level 360 on Nippon 1103.
All Nippon 1103. Contact Tokyo Control on 120.5.
Contact Tokyo Control on 120.5. On Nippon 1103. Have a good one.
I haven't set up any custom
30
cabin views yet.
Climb flight level 370.
Maintain flat.
Flight level 370, Japan Air 307.
Right turn 90, 75154.
So yeah, otherwise, there are lots of issues with this airplane if you look online. Seem to be more issues in 2024 than 2020, which is why we're in 2020, because I was trying to give us the best chance at having a problem-free flight.
Japan Air
So far, so good.
07. Contact Tokyo Control on 132.3.
132.3, Japan Air 307. So it's very weird. Sometimes it seems to preset it, and sometimes it doesn't. So it seems to be extremely glitchy. And even me turning this myself is being very, let's say, problematic.
Right turn heading 230.
So like it only registers like every few changes, not all of them. It's like only every second one. But then sometimes it gets every one, so it's very strange. So there's definitely no there's no changing this quickly. It seems to be worse with the outer knob. And then this sometimes works, so it worked this time. But I pushed it twice and only did it once. Japan Air 307, flight level 235.
Japan Air 307, Tokyo Control identified. Good afternoon.
But otherwise, yeah, let's it's a very nice cockpit. I think, if nothing else, iniBuilds did a really good job of making this look really spacious, like it is. The screens are excellent. You can choose whether or not the airplane's weathered. There's a bunch of settings in here. It's not the nicest EFB, but it matches, you know, what you would have in here. So
307, Tokyo Control, climb flight level 400.
flight level 400, Japan Air 307. Very modern displays, obviously the PFD, the ND. I like that they have the proper vertical profile, including terrain, which is nice. I mean, this is typical Airbus stuff, right? Like, this is all very familiar, but it's just all in place. This is probably the biggest for those of you that have flown A320 or the 340 or the 310s, whatever. This is the biggest change. Instead of having the typical CDU, I don't even know if this has a backup one in it. Yeah, it sort of does. These, no, they're not real McDoos, so it doesn't really have one. So this is all different. It's all driven by a mouse trackball here with wheels, buttons. So that's where the real pilots would have their hand. For us, we get to move it with the mouse in here. Very different, but it's, you know, to go direct to, you'd literally just find the place, you click on it. You got a whole bunch of options if you want to take something out. Overfly, hold here. Like, it's all actually really, really, really intuitive. So I imagine that for pilots this must be just lovely. I don't know how to get rid of that now. So that's much nicer. And of course, there's two of them. I guess some nice standby displays, all digital ones still. There is the only analog display is the compass, which is kind of cool. You can turn the light on in that, or turn it off. And yeah, so oh, actually they do have auto brake, different levels here. Huh. Alright, we'll have to try to figure that out. I have not yet landed this airplane, so that will be another treat to try out later. We're almost at 30,000 feet. Once we get to 40,000, we will go into the cabin and have a look around. iniBuilds provided the option to have different models so that you can choose to have a cabin or not, like a rendered cabin. So if you're hurting for frames, you can choose to fly one that doesn't render the cabin to give yourself a little bit of extra performance, which is not bad. There's nothing wrong with that. But overall, I was really looking forward to this plane because it's, I think from the outside, it's such a cool plane. I love the swept wing. Sharklets or winglets, whatever you want to call them. It's not Mount Fuji. It is. If you look at the left side of the airplane, you can get a glimpse of Mount Fuji. Very cool.
Tokyo Control, Alipon 240 is flight level 2 to 300, climbing flight level 3140.
Hold Nippon 249er, Tokyo Control. Climb flight level 400.
Yeah, it does look quite nice, Steve. I I get the sense from all the issues I've seen reported that it's not quite as smooth of a launch as like the PMDG 777. But I will say that I think iniBuilds has got a lot riding on this plane. So I suspect and hope that they will be addressing any of the issues that people have identified. Because some of them, like for some people, they can't fly it for some reason at all. There's a lot of crashes in 2024. A lot of that, though, seems to be related to it not being on the Sim Update 1 beta, potentially. But yeah, I mean, there's work that needs to be done. I myself experienced some strange issues yesterday. Is it? It's really hard to say if it's comparable to the 777 because I've read from some people that say it doesn't really it doesn't model as well. Like the systems don't react as well. If you turn off certain breakers or something, like you turn off certain systems, the airplane does not behave as it should. Like it should fail to fly in a certain way, but it doesn't. So it might be a little bit less study level than the 777, if you will, in that direction. But I think it's a really fun, it's a really nice plane to fly. Like it seems to have all the systems that I'm looking for. I can do all the stuff I want to do. I can pop out all the displays. I was able to bind all of my hardware. The radios seem to have some issues right now. That seems to have been acknowledged, I think, by iniBuilds, where like hardware connections to control the radio frequency seems to be a little bit wonky. I think they'll get that sorted out. It's really nice though. Like it looks very complete. You can do a lot of things. You can pop out the tray and all that stuff. It integrates with SimBrief. It has some basic GSX integration, which is probably better than what PMDG has done. The EFB works. There's some glitches, like I can't get the charts to show up on the EFB, which isn't a big deal for me because I never do that anyway, but obviously that's a big deal for some people, and I'm sure it's something they're going to get fixed. I think they're already working on it with Navigraph. It's really, I mean, some people are going to say it's missing a bunch of stuff, but like as far as I'm concerned, it has a lot of the stuff in it that I'm looking for. Like it does all these things, all the buttons work, all the cool things work. I really like I can do this and turn on headphone mode. Can you go back in time in this game? What do you mean by back in time, Boost? Do you mean like rewind? Like if I crash the airplane and just go oopsies and rewind? No, you can't do that. If by going back in time you mean fly an airplane that doesn't actually fly in the real world anymore, absolutely. There's some airplanes out there you can fly that are real old timers that you wouldn't see flying around anymore. We can't really do that. You can't really do bad stuff in the game. If you're talking about like online networks like VATSIM or something, there's some stuff you're not allowed to do. But you can't fly in. There are no explosions or anything like that. If you crash your airplane, the screen just goes black. Like that's intentionally done. I don't know if anybody would do stuff intentionally stupid that they might ban people for. I'm not sure how the multiplayer stuff is patrolled. I usually have multiplayer turned off because I prefer seeing my injected traffic from real life flights than people flying, all funny and stuff. But so we've leveled out at 40,000 feet. I do like that this plane flies high. It flies higher than the 777. But Steve, it's very. I think you can. In some way, you can compare it to the 777. It's probably not as deep as the PMDG planes systems-wise. Though again, it all depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for, well, if you turn it on, if you turn it and put it into alternate law, and you disable IRS-2 and you pull the breaker for the right side flight director, then this should happen, and it doesn't, then, you know, maybe there's some concerns. I never do that. I just want to be able to follow the regular flows of getting the airplane started. I want to have all the things work. I want to be able to load a flight plan. I want to be able to do a hold. I want to be able to do a go around. And I think all those things are working just fine. So it's pretty pricey, but you do get two versions, and you get them for 2020 and for 24, all in the same bundle. There's a whole bunch of liveries. This is just one of the Japan Airlines ones that they have. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of them on flightsim.to. I believe they're going to be releasing a paint kit. They've done that for their other planes, which means I get to make a paint livery for our VA. iniBuilds doesn't necessarily build the absolute best airplanes there, but they build solid airplanes. Like the other ones that they've built, the A300 and the A310, they're solid. Like there's nothing overly wrong with them. You can fly them online on the network. They'll do what you want them to do. This one still seems to have some weird issues to work out, but again, most of these complicated airplanes do when they first get released. But the performance is actually quite good. I'm really pleased. Performance-wise, it's been good. I kind of want to go and let's see if we can step out of the cockpit and go for a little walk into the cabin and see. I have not done this yet, so we'll see how well this works. I always feel like the default head height is too low. Okay, I'm not that tall. I'm not that short. Gotta be at least this height. Excuse the sniffles. So we'll go out here. Find ourselves in the galley. Should probably close the cockpit door behind us. Crew only, so that's pretty neat. I do have some like screen tearing here when I move around, but that's an issue I frequently have for some reason. So let's see what we got. Oh, we got a curtain here that's closed. Do we just walk through it, or can we open it? I guess we just step through it. Oh, okay, so this is apparently the non-cabin version. There you go. And I did not notice that on 2020, so I may have to actually have a look. On 2024, I've seen screenshots where you have to like choose which one you want. Unless I'm not doing something right, and there should be a different way to get into the cabin. But yeah, there's obviously nothing in here, so let's go back to the cockpit. I guess this may be the no cabin version. Sound cabin options. Noise cancelling headphones such as engine whine. Yeah. See, it has a lot of these features too. So it's got AFK mode, which means AP disconnects that occur will pause the sim. That's nice. Only during time compression though. I wish they'd take that out, because I think AFK mode, I would want the sim to pause when the autopilot disconnects, whether it's time compression or not. Like if I go to sleep, I kind of want that to be a thing. So that's slightly disappointing. Pause at TOD, which again I would just use Smart Cars 3 for that. But it's nice that it's built in. You can specify the distance from the TOD. Auto GPU disconnect. Manual will probably say when that happens, presumably when you turn on the beacon or something. Auto step climb, that's nice if you're going to be flying AFK overnight, like I plan to do on a lot of long hauls. Time compression, auto, I don't know what that'll do. I don't usually ever do time compression. But so it has a lot of these features, right? It's got the connection to Navigraph and Say Intentions and Hoppy for CDPLC. Individual volume controls, the cabin sound options here. You have to calibrate the throttles. Again, that's pretty common. You can choose the wing hooks, sharklets, and fuel jettison. I don't want to play around with those because I don't know what happens when you change the sharklets mid-flight. You can choose a lot of the taxi camera light. I have to play around with that. Again, I don't want to do it in mid-air. There's a lot of things here that you can configure specifically to just how you want that. Auto EFB brightness. I don't know if I haven't really noticed that do anything, but again, a lot of settings. So it's got all the things that you would expect from
Japan Air
an
307,
airplane of
contact
this
Tokyo Control
price.
on 119.3.
119.3 Japan Air 307. See, this time Say Intentions was able to pre-dial it, so it's there. It's a little glitchy. Japan Air 307 with you, flight level 400. But it seems to be an issue with the airplane, not Say Intentions, because it also happens to be on ATC.
Japan Air 307, Tokyo Control identified, Yokoso.
Yokoso. That must mean something like hello in Japanese. Let's see what else is in here. Pretty good flight ops. Load sheets. You can import from SimBrief again. Very easy to load the airplane. The performance calculator is dead easy. Sync, compute, send, done. Very nice. I like it. Landing performance. We can actually play around with this because I haven't done this yet. So let's have a look. We're going to sync SimBrief. Now we don't know what runway we're arriving on yet. SimBrief gave us 3-4. That's still what Navigraph is suggesting, so we'll just leave it at that for now. We can sync the conditions there, so it does all that. Landing technique, manual. We'll do an auto. No, we'll do a manual. Brake mode, medium. Okay, medium. Reversers, yes. Config full. Dry runway, I think it's MVFR. Again, we can change it. And we click on compute. And so we've got the VAP of 138. Now the other thing that this thing does, and I don't know how this works on this airplane, I'm going to have to watch some YouTube videos on that, but it has what's called brake to vacate technology in this airplane, where it will basically do auto braking so that you can vacate the runway at a certain off-ramp, at a certain taxiway. So if you know that, you know, because it's most convenient, you want to exit at, like, I don't know, Delta 5. You can somehow, and I don't know how because I haven't looked at this yet, I might dig into this while we're flying. You can tell the airplane, and it will then brake to vacate at that intersection. So I don't know if that's in here. It's definitely not in the EFB. It might be under performance. Let's have a look. We don't want to activate approach. This is all pretty similar to what you're used to seeing in a regular or an older version McDo. We've got the approach. We're going to be putting in the weather and stuff here later. Nothing there about braking though. And then of course go around parameters. Position report, navigates, RS,
Good morning.
data. Yeah, so
FedEx 5156, contact Tokyo Control on 120.
doesn't look like that's in here. I actually believe that it's in on this display here. If I go and switch, I don't actually know if this is going to work in flight or not. If I switch to zoom, does this actually do anything? So landing. Ah, BTV exit at, okay. Performance code, dry 6, wet, okay, it's gonna be dry. Modify runway. Maybe that's not available until we put that into the descent, into the computer later. So we'll have to come back to that. I do kind of want to return to that because that's kind of cool. That's something that none of the planes we have in the simulator right now feature at all. I don't know if the Airbus 380 from Fly-by-Wire has that functionality. I don't believe so. But there's really only, I think, the 350 and the 380 that even have this. I don't know about the 220. I'm not too familiar with that Airbus. The one thing that I noticed it does not have is a lot of nice. It doesn't have very many pre-made cameras. In fact, it only has this one and this one. It's a little disappointing. These are all just the standard ones. And these are all the internal quick view things. There's nothing nothing terribly exciting in there. But I'm sure there probably already is several packages of camera views on flightsim.to. Boy, I think I really miscalculated. I think SimBrief is really lying to me how long these flights are going to take. I think we're going to go way over time again. Actually, let's have a look and see if we can figure that out. Currently, what is the current time? 0419. Yeah, so arrival even on a straight shot is 5:12, which is 9:12 my local time, which is 12 minutes past the end of the stream already. So we're probably going to run at least a half hour over. Oh well. I'm going to have to pick shorter flights, I think, going forward. This is actually kind of cool. Let's play around. We've got speed and altitude. What else can we choose from? EFOB and tailwind. That's cool. What happens when you click on a wind? Insert history wind. Company wind request. Can we do that? I don't think that really did anything. I think these displays are actually nicer for people who don't have physical hardware than the regular MacDoos, the traditional ones, because I think this is a lot more intuitive to look at and use the mouse and click around. You don't have to like click on buttons down here and go next or whatever. You know, you just click. It feels much more intuitive, and I'm sure it does feel like that for the actual pilots as well. I've not yet tried this in VR, but I've heard from a friend that it is stunning looking in the cockpit in VR. Just the scale of it is amazing. I don't really have a VR headset at the moment because unfortunately Microsoft decided to discontinue support for my Reverb G2 when they updated to the latest version of Windows 11. Now I actually had to roll that back for a different reason, but I've been too lazy to hook my VR headset up again, and I don't use it a lot because I do flights that are long, and it's not great, not very convenient. So, but one of these days I want to get a new headset. Yeah, that would be a little bit drafty with no walls back there. I'll have to look at that. I'm pretty certain that I don't recall seeing any mention to the cabin or no cabin. Hmm. Okay, let's have a quick look here. How to change weights, calibrate throttles. I'm just browsing through the iniBuilds forum. They did a really good job of creating a whole bunch of how-to documents, which is nice, though I don't see anything. Takeoff landing performance, calculations. Oh, no, I don't see anything here about the liveries. So the liveries with the cabin. I'm trying to remember where I've read about that, because I know that there's just, I'm pretty sure in 2024, because they have that whole concept of variants for the aircraft, you just choose from one. Yeah, so that's how it works. So in 2024, the option comes with a light no cabin livery. I wonder if that's not a thing in 2020. We just get this kind of broken cabin? Could that be? Oh, actually, no. Because on their 2020 how-tos, there is no guide about cabins. So maybe the cabins are just kind of only half there? Huh. So I suppose if that is the case, and I'm not sure, but it seems like, from at least this one livery that I've been in, that it does not have a cabin in 2020. So that would be a knock against it compared to the 777, because the 777 does definitely have a cabin. Quite a nice one, actually. Alright, I'm just looking at...
Japan Air 307, Tokyo Control, expect the Kirin arrival. Descent coming up in about 20 minutes.
Nice. Expect the Kirin arrival. We'll be ready to descend when you tell us to. Japan Air 307. Kirin arrival. I don't think that's correct. Oh, no, it is. Okay, there is a Kirin arrival. Let's ask if they have a runway. Do you happen to know what runway they're landing in Fukuoka? Japan Air 307? It's got to be 16 from that one.
Japan Air 307, arriving runway 16 at Fukuoka.
Roger, thank you, Japan Air 307. Okay, so that's cool. We can go and let's go put that in. We'll go here. I'm just kind of making my way through this. I think this will work. So runway 16. Approach. I'm guessing we're hopefully going to get an ILS. Yeah, I think we'll just get an ILS. It'll probably be via NTIX, and then the star is going to be Kirin. This is another thing that's hard to tell in here, but it's got a scroll bar, but the only way to scroll is to actually use the little scroll wheel right here. You can't do that with the mouse here, which is, I get it, it's very realistic, but it's also a real pain because that takes all the intuitiveness of using this away, because in real life the pilot's hand would be down here by the scroll wheel anyway, but in our actual physical world the hand's on our mouse. So this should either use the scroll wheel ideally, or you should be able to drag this bar, but you can't do that. But again, I suspect they'll probably change that. Excuse me. Can I please change this to Kieran? Why won't it do it? There we go. Temporary flight plan. Insert. I'm just looking here. Our top of descent is not for a while yet, so we're good. And it comes after. We've got clove, basil. These are a lot of interesting. So we've got cami is next, then clove, basil, sun pie, ruvek, stout, Kirin, and then we're doing into the actual star. Yep, and all the way down to Opkos, and then NTIX, and then that's the ILS from there. Okay, now that we know that, we can actually do some of the BTV stuff here that I was talking about. But first, let's go into the performance, descent, not descent, approach rather. I'm gonna look up the, actually let's see if we can find this on the EFB in here. Yeah, it's already there. So wind is 300 at 4. 300. Also, I did not figure out a way that you can pop out of those fields, or you can import. You can do the keyboard input. Does that mean if I hit enter? Okay, that works. I don't type it. I use my my actual McDo buttons, but then I just put it on the
Japan
execute
Air
button.
307, contacts Fukuoka control on 120.975.
Fukuoka control 120.975. Japan Air 307. Come on, switch. There we go. Fukuoka control, hello. Japan Air 307 at flight level 400.
Japan Air 307, Fukuoka control, identified. Good afternoon.
So we got 11 degrees. QNH 3012. Should be smart enough to figure out that that's in inches. Yep. Minimums. Let me just consult my chart here because the charts are not working. The minimums are 215 on the barometer. And that should be good for the descent information. Now, can we... Actually, I'm just going to read the guide real quick because I was just in the middle of doing that. So the brake to vacate guide. The brake to vacate function optimizes the auto brake deceleration on landing in order to reach the selected runway exit point or manually entered landing distance. The system takes into account the selected runway condition, braking action in its calculations. Once armed, the system works autonomously to delay braking in order to reduce brake wear and optimize the runway occupancy time and improve passenger comfort. That's so cool. In order for BTV to function, it needs information, such as your stopping target, stopping distance, and runway condition. The information can be provided by two ways: via exit selection on the ANF, which is that map we're looking at, or via manual distance entry. So, exit selection on the ANF. This is only for Navigraph users with an unlimited subscription, which I do have, so we'll give that a try. We've already chosen the landing runway. That is one of the prerequisites. We just did that. Step 2 then is to set ANF to your destination airport. So, let's go in here. And we're going to switch to zoom. We're on the landing screen. Runway 16, it now tells us that because we put that into the FMS. 2,800 meters. Dry. I believe it's dry, but let me just check the actual weather forecast. Weather and a few clouds, scattered clouds, conditions light showers of rain. Maybe it's not dry. It's definitely not. See, this is the thing, like, I can't actually scroll down in here. I do not know how. I could not figure out how to do that. I don't know if it's wet. Light showers. Let's just stick to dry, because chances are it's not going to rain. It rains so rarely. That's going to bite me in the butt, but we'll give it a shot. Okay, I see a place there for the exit at meters from threshold. Okay, so what we actually want to do is we want to click on the double arrow. We want to go to the airport selection tab, which is already loaded there. We're going to click the display airport button to make it the active displayed airport. Come on. Why is it not doing anything? This seems to not be working. Okay, so that switched it. I feel like it's not actually loading the map correctly here. Is that just because... Airport not an active flight plan. Okay, fair enough. But, well, it is. I don't want to zoom. I want to click on this button. That does not seem to be working. It's not doing anything. I know that it takes a while to load for the first time, usually. When it worked when we were on the ground earlier.
November 8060 Bravo, with you, flight number 400.
Megabyte 44. Tokyo control identified.
Okay, let me just double check this. Change plan to ND selector.
Coming up in about 20
Oh, okay. I see. We have to switch this guy to plan mode. Ah, that's okay. So, this must be Fukuoka. Alright, we can move this around. We are landing runway 16, so we are coming from up there. In fact, it knows that, which is kind of cool. How can I move this so that it stays? There we go. So it knows that because it's got the little green arrow there, because we're landing from here. Okay, cool. We're one step closer. Choose the break-in action / runway condition. We have pull the runway condition braking actions up to bring up the runway condition. Oh, yes, D. Okay, so that's this knob over here. We're supposed to pull it. Ah. Okay. Rotate to select that one. Yeah, we're already on that, so that's good. Now we choose the target. Click and drag the center to the desired exit. Click the taxiway icon with the blue border and select BTVX. Okay, so I don't think we needed to do this unless we wanted to change the brake and action type, but I think we're going to go with dry just for ease. So we're landing here. Let's, come on. Nope, I don't want to add anything. Let's try to exit. Where would we want to exit? Right here. I think this should be a good exit right there. It's either Charlie 6 or Charlie 7. Let's do Charlie 7 just to give us some extra time, because anything beyond that, it's going to be all the way at the end. So we'll see how this works, because it would actually be kind of cool to see how it's automatically delaying the braking. So I click on this, set BTV exit. It's drawn, I don't know if you guys can see that. It's drawn a teal line, a little light blue line right there. On the top of the corner, we'll see runway, and it's LDA, runway 16, yep, exit C7, 2,000 meters. ROT, 65 seconds, so we're going to be on the runway, 65 seconds. Must choose a runway exit beyond the dry/wet stop bar. Okay, this line here. Oh, cool. So that's dry. So if the runway's dry, we could make C6. If it's wet, that's going to be real close. So since we're not entirely sure if it's going to be dry or wet, let's assume we'll just give ourselves extra time. We'll use Charlie 7. This is really neat. So this is a really good example of something that the 777 cannot do. It just does not have this. Okay, I believe, let me just double check the how-to. That's all we need to do. And then when we are landing, BTV auto brake mode arms when the following conditions are met. A BTV exit is selected and the push button is pressed. So once we push this button over here, the auto brake button, which we'll do when we get closer to actually landing, it'll show up. It'll be lit up in green, and the PFD will say BTV. So we'll keep an eye out for that. It should say BTV underneath here when we go to land. So this is actually, I really appreciate iniBuilds writing this guide, because this is not super complicated, but if you don't know how it works, I don't know if I would have necessarily figured that out by myself. Probably not, because I was even missing the simple thing like that I had to be in plan mode and I can't be in arc mode to do this. So now that we've done that, we'll go back to arc and our map here, and yeah, we'll give that a shot and see. That's pretty cool. So that's a sign of some of the really modern systems that Airbus has put into this. And I love this too. We can see our top of descent here. I've always really liked this vertical situation display. I know you can get it in the 777, I think, but it's in a different mode. Like, you can't be in the regular like display mode that I like. Whereas in this Airbus, I feel like the layout of, honestly, the layout of all these screens on the Airbus side, to me, is more logical and easy to understand than in the Boeing airplanes. I guess that could be said for a lot of things Airbus. I feel like the way the overhead works, simpler. There are no lights on anywhere. This is good. Everything's fine. There's a reason people say it's like driving a bus. I guess there's supposed to be a little bit of a connotation that it's easy. You don't have to have a rocket science degree to fly an Airbus, which is good, but it also makes it easier to fly, I think, for pilots. I'm so tired of this cold, guys. It sucks. The worst thing is that I cannot yawn without coughing. And I'm sleepy, so I want to yawn. And I can't do it. So I can't get the satisfaction of a good yawn. Drives me crazy.
Fukuoka Control, Cherry 888 with you, flight level 240.
Cherry 888, Fukuoka Control identified. Konnichiwa.
I do like how the stream overlay from Say Intention says there's 18 minutes remaining. I think that's a little optimistic. Yeah, I'm at a week now. Last Wednesday is the first day I started feeling something, and I decided to work from home because I was like, I'm starting to feel like something's happening. And then Thursday I started feeling worse. Friday I was worse. Saturday I was worse. Sunday I was worse. I swear, Monday and Tuesday I was still worse. Every day got progressively worse. Then yesterday and today was relatively stable, but my nights are still a disaster. Like, I wake up at 3 o'clock because I can't breathe, and I gotta go and blow my nose for like 20 minutes. And then try to go to sleep again. Can't yawn. Constantly got this dry, scratchy throat where I just want to cough. It's annoying. Hello, Fly with Joe. How's it going? It's going pretty well here. We're just about to get to our top of descent, where I guess we're like 17 miles away. We'll see if Say Intentions gives us a descent thing. If not, I'm going to ask for it, because I think we're going to need to give us a little bit extra time. It's my first time landing the A350. But so far this flight has been just about flawless as far as performing with the airplanes can go on. Not bad at all. Oh yeah, man, you didn't know we streamed on Twitch? Yeah, there's always content on Twitch, Shacknews, all kinds of different stuff. Like, I stream every Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific time, and I usually do a flight sim, or some sort of a sim, sometimes DayZ, sometimes a shooter if my brain just really doesn't want to think too much, but generally it's a sim. There's like all kinds of variety shows, talk shows, some retro gaming shows, yeah. If you're familiar with Shacknews.com, the website, then you should definitely follow on Twitch. There's some good stuff here. Okay, I'd like to descend. I'm just gonna ask for it. Japan Air 307, we'd like to descend now, please.
Japan Air 307, Descend via Kirin into Fukuoka.
We'll descend via Kirin into Fukuoka, Japan Air 307. Alright, got that just in time. So, descent via, that will take us to the last waypoint on the star is Entix 2,000 feet. So we'll put in 2,000, we'll see how the VNAV does. I know, Shacknews is one of those things that's been around. It's like an institution of the internet. Alright, first time descending in the Airbus A350 from iniBuilds. So far, it's doing what I'm expecting it to, which is descending at roughly 1,000 feet per minute until we catch up with the profile, and then it should take us down a bit faster. Plane's a little bit bumpy. I don't know if that's the turbulence or winds or if it's just a plane. Joe, I really like it. I personally have had only one issue so far, and that was during a test setup on a runway where I had parked on the runway for a while, and then when I released the brakes, it started rolling backwards on me. I'm not sure why, and there was nothing I could do about it. It was very strange. I love the visuals. Looks great. Performs pretty well. I have a lot of physical hardware, and I was able to get all of it to work with it. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any complaints yet. Like, I know some people have run into issues. I love that they gave it to us in 2020 and 24. My understanding is that 24 has got a few more issues than 2020, so I've been sticking with 2020 for now. Which I do with all my long-haul flights anyway, to be honest. I find 2020 much more stable if I want to fly for like 12 hours overnight, which is what I intend to do with the A350. So, like all of these complex planes, it needs some work. There's some weird things that don't quite work. The Navigraph charts don't load at all on 2020 for some reason, but I'm pretty confident they're going to sort most of this stuff out. Not a bad launch. I mean, the one thing I'll give them credit for is that the actual purchase experience is night and day to something like a PMDG 777 launch, where, you know, like, you were actually able to just go in a store, click buy, put in your payment information, and install it. Done. Whereas with PMDG, it's always like this race of like, is it going to load for me? When am I going to get my email with the verification? Blah, blah, blah. So iniBuilds has got that down. It's probably not as in-depth system-wise as a PMDG or a Phoenix, but it is certainly by no means casual or something. Like, all the features are there. We were talking earlier, we set up the brake to vacate system, which I think I can switch to it again on this screen. Is it going to show us if I zoom in? Yeah, so, you know, it knows we're coming in on runway 16. It's got a dry line, a wet line, and then we told it we want to exit on Charlie 7. So down here, it automatically is going to calculate the braking things to make that happen for us. So I'm really curious to see how well that's going to work. Time will tell. But the idea is that it's going to be... it should be slowing us down in time. So we're going to see. I'm not going to touch the brakes. Yeah, $80 is pretty steep. I mean, you're right. You do get two variants, so arguably they're pretty much the same, probably. A 900 and a Dash 1000. It's one slightly longer, but yeah, it does seem... it's really tricky, because I can understand why they're so expensive, because so much work goes into these planes, but I also get it. Like, you pay $80 for a game, and then it's like $80 for another single airplane. It's a lot. It is. And there are probably better value propositions for other planes. Like, if you buy this, what's the cheapest 737 from PMDG? The 600, I think. It's like $25 or $30. That's a really, really good airplane, and it's probably better value than this one. But again, it depends on, you know, like, nobody's making this one right now. It's not in the sim. If you want to fly this one, you have to pay for it. What's happened? For some reason... Oh, that was weird. I couldn't move my camera for a second with my joystick. I'm going to stop doing that because it just did weird stuff and I don't want the sim to do weird stuff when we're almost there. So yeah, it's pricey. There's no doubt about it. It's expensive. Most of them, unfortunately, are. Yeah, I think it is. Is it worth $80? I think so. But you can have the whole discussion around whether or not any plane is worth $80, right? Like, I think there are some planes that are worth $80. Let me put it to you this way. I've spent $80 on planes that turned out not to be worth it. There are some that are at this price that are not worth it compared to the other offerings. There are some that are really good value. Phoenix is great value for what you get, especially if you get the bundle. You get the 319, 20, and 21 that are all relatively different. Great value. The PMDG ones, if you get all the 737s, it adds up quite a bit as well. I don't think they have a bundle offering, so pretty expensive. But then again, you could probably argue you can just buy one of them and be happy with that. The 777 by itself is a pretty decent price. It's cheaper than this one. But if you want another version, like the Freighter, you have to pay extra. If you want the 200 ER, which I think is next, you have to pay extra. So, I guess it depends. If you think the PMDG's 777 is worth what it is, then this one's probably worth what it is. But it's also, I buy a lot of planes and I fly very few of them because I don't have that much time, so, which is kind of a silly thing to do. But I just like having them, and I like experimenting with them all, and I like having the ability to go in and then I go and buy like 3D printed throttles for my Honeycomb Bravo throttle quadrant. So I kind of go all out. In fact, I just got my Airbus A350 throttle detents, so I'm excited to try those out. I'm gonna get some for the 350, even though they're very similar to the 320's throttles, but a little bit different, just enough for me to want to get different ones. So it all depends, but it's a pretty good launch. There have not been, for the most part, any major issues. There are lots of small issues from the looks of like Discord and the forums. But that's kind of, it seems to be the standard procedure these days. I'm trying to remember the last time an airplane was released that didn't have a lot of issues along the way. Even the Phoenix had a lot of issues along the way. Mostly performance related and stuff like that. It was really tough for some people to make it work. Even for me on my system. This one seems to be okay. Yeah, you're doing it the right way. The fly-by-wire 320 was the first one, the first airliner that I learned as well. Now this was back when it was literally one of the first third-party airliners available, like back in 2020 or early 21 or whenever it was. But the fly-by-wire is such a great airplane, and considering it's free. And then the 380, free airplane. And it's not bad. It's quite good. And it's actually very similar to the 350 because it has the same sort of cockpit. So I'd recommend trying that next at some point if you want to go really big. But yeah, the fly-by-wire 320 is a great plane to start on. The PMDG 737, I recommend having at least one of them. It's a fun airplane and it's really good. It's also a very common airplane, right? So if you like flying like real routes or real liveries, you know, you want to fly, I don't know, Southwest or something, or Ryanair, like there are hundreds of airlines that fly the 737 or some variant of it. Same with the 320, of course. The 380 is just a fun thing to fly. And the nice thing is when you know how to fly the 320, the 380 is not all that different. And in fact, this is the overhead in the 350. This should look immediately familiar to you in the 320. It's a little different. There's a couple more batteries. There's light switches are a little different. That's about it. The rest of it is pretty much the same. The flow is pretty much the same. Batteries, electrical power, ADIRs, lights, APU, ignition, fuel, and you've got an airplane that's ready to go. Same with the 380. Difference there is it's got 4 engines instead of 2, but concepts are all the same. So the Boeings are different. The Boeings are a little more complicated to get going than an Airbus. But again, once you learn a 737, then the 777 is not all that different. The 787 is very similar to the 777. So, you know, you really just have to learn like 2 main airliner flows, Boeing and Airbus, and the rest of them are 80% of the same. ATC has been very quiet for us. I'm guessing that FSATC chatter doesn't recognize the frequency we're on. Yeah, it doesn't know what we're on. Okay, that's too bad. This is going to be quite the approach, quite the arrival. Which is nice loop. That's actually going to be a really nice test to see how it does with this arc. A pretty tight turn here at the end, and then a nice long run to the approach fix, and then pretty straight in. So all in all, it should be a pretty easy arrival, I hope. I am going to hand fly the approach unless the weather's really crappy or something, but I do want to see how it controls manually on the landing. And then I'm really curious how this brake to vacate works. Actually, I'm really curious if there's going to be a notable difference or not, like if I can actually tell. So I think the one thing we can do now is we're going to arm the auto brake. And there we go. BTV comes up in blue. So whereas in like the 320, you would set a level of auto brake, like low, medium, or max, or high or max, and it would just say that there. So this one is, it's like smart braking, which is a really cool concept. And I totally get why, because the number of times that I've missed a turnoff on my landing and then had to taxi way further than I wanted to, it's significant. And if you're an actual airline with paying customers in the back and timelines and stuff, it's more than just annoying if you miss an exit. Not to mention it probably screws up ATC and the sequencing on busy airports and stuff if planes are taking too much time on the runway. This is the other thing I mentioned earlier, this vertical situation display. I really like that. You can see it's got the terrain down here. So this brown, so it's ground. You can see the little mountains and stuff. There's obviously some water here. We'll be going out over the water and then back over the land. It's quite nice. I also like, you can see we're going to be leveling out here at probably 10,000 feet or so for quite a while. For over 20 miles. I'm guessing we're going to fly most of this arc at 10,000 feet. Or I guess it's 9,000. We can actually see here 9,000 here. Still 9,000 there. Again, that's really nice because it's going to give the airplane a lot of time to slow down, and it's really going to allow us to hopefully see how well it performs. Thank you for the follow, Radon the Tyrant. Welcome aboard. Looks like the weather's going to be kind of meh. We may not see very much. Yeah, I do second that. Like, if you want to spend money, and if you want to get an Airbus, the Phoenix is the first one you should get. And I would even go as far as recommending getting the bundle of the 319, 320, and 321. You get sharklets and wingtip versions. It's really nice. But again, the fly-by-wire is the perfect one to learn on. It's free and it's got most of the stuff the Phoenix has for no money laid out, and once you're comfortable with that and you want to get a little extra polish and a little bit more systems and stuff, the Phoenix is great. It has excellent integration with GSX, probably the single best airplane with GSX. I love how it does that. I wish all the other planes I fly did that, and none of them do. They all claim to have some GSX integration, and it's all just a different variant
Japan Air
of not great.
307. Contact Fukuoka. Approach on 119.65.
119.65, Japan Air 307. Yeah, the Phoenix is just... It's better than anything else. Japan Air 307, descending via the Kirin arrival at flight level 147.
Japan Air 307. Heavy Fukuoka approach identified. Konbanwa. Expect the ILS runway 16. Approach into Fukuoka.
We'll expect runway 16 ILS 16, Japan Air 307 Heavy. The Phoenix is just really, really nice. I saw a statement or a post by Amir, the founder or creator or leader or CEO or whatever of Phoenix, and I guess they had initially planned to make a 350. But then when iniBuilds announced theirs and how far along they were, I think they scrapped that plan, and that's really kind of too bad, because this iniBuilds A350 is not good. It's not bad. It's good. I like it. It's done really well so far. But I'm pretty confident in saying that a Phoenix-built A350 would probably be superior. Not probably. I'm just going to take that out. I think if Phoenix built an A350, it would be better than this one. No doubt. So they didn't do it because, you know, market reasons. It didn't make sense for them to compete with an iniBuilds one that was going to be released a year or more earlier. So that's too bad. I kind of hope that they decided to work on something else though, so maybe we'll get to see something from Phoenix at some point here that is not already out there. So in which case that's great. That's good.
Japan Air Port Right or Distal Maintain 1000.
Distal Maintain 1000, Japan Air Port Right.
What's that sound? Okay. Engines to idle. That sounded kind of nice. Let's see if it can hit the 10,000 feet, 250 knot speed limit on its own. I'm not going to touch the speed brake. Yeah, the Headwinds 330 is not bad. I mean, it's really just, it's built on the 320 and the fly-by-wire 320, so it's not bad. It's probably better than the 330 that's in 2024 that iniBuilds made, to be honest. But yeah, if Phoenix released a 330, for example, I'd buy that. That'd be great. There's definitely a difference between payware and freeware, no doubt. But I still think it's pretty amazing what you can get for free with like the Headwinds A330 and the fly-by-wire 320 and the 380. It's really cool that you can get that without having to spend any money. Alright, so it did a really good job of getting to the speed limit here without us exceeding speed. The only time we sped today was during departure when I wasn't paying attention. Actually, that's not true. I was struggling with the radios because the radios here have some issue. I really like this. ILS 16, landing 16, dry 6, Charlie 7. So landing runway, dry condition,
Japan Air
and then brake to vacate at Charlie
307.
7.
Heavy, proceed direct mode. Descend altitude 2000. QNH 1019er.
Oh, dude, that's a huge shortcut. Okay. Alright, this is going to be a challenge. Maltz is right over here, so that's cutting out the entire arc. Alright, we'll proceed direct Maltz, descending to 2,000 feet, QNH 1019er, until established on the localizer. Clear it for ILS runway 16 approach, Japan Air 307. Actually, we should be able to do that. This is really nice. This is one of the new things that Say Intention has recently put in. Why is this not working anymore? Interesting. That works. This doesn't work. Huh. Alright, I'm gonna fix that in a minute. Alright, let's see.
Landing the Venus, descend and maintain 11,000, yeah, speed type 24.
We're gonna go direct Maltz. This is gonna be potential challenge from present position direct to. Okay, here we go. Did that put us way above? Kind of. Let's see if it can sort it out. Why are we speeding up? Okay, I'm gonna let it sort itself out, and then I'll only hit the speed brakes here if we need to.
Computer HPG speed 170 knots, maintain until 7 dB.
170 knots, 270 MDM from 23.
Oh, what's happening? Something strange has happened. I can't move the camera in the cockpit. So, see if that fixes itself here in just a moment. It has me a little bit worried.
Terrain, Venus, Mark 202.
Yeah, none of the camera angles are working. What is going on? I know what's going on. Aircraft, yeah, see, okay, so somehow when I moved my mouse over, I got stuck in that input mode. That's frustrating, but okay. Virtual flight sim, it is! It's actually 6 monitors, I think, I think I counted earlier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 giant screens. There's hardly any actual physical instruments. I think the only analog instrument is the standby compass here. Even the standby displays are digital. Okay, alright, it managed to catch up, but it is way over speeding. So let's put the speed brakes out. Let's see, can we see them? There they are. That's kind of a nice view, actually. The speed brakes are super effective. I'm not sure if that's realistic. They are really effective. We also want to be at 210, so I'm actually gonna... Because we got rid of all the nice time to settle down here. Now I feel like we're a little bit under the gun. Let's activate the approach. Let's slow ourselves down here and give ourselves lots of extra time. Altitude-wise, I think we're looking good. We're at 2,800. We should be at 2,000. And then we are cleared for the approach, so I should probably look at where we want to go for that. Landing system should be on. 13.7 miles. We're not far. We want to get down to 1,400. This should slow us down to, yeah, about 180. Visibility is not great here.
Japan Air 307. Contact Fukuoka Tower on 118.4.
118.4, Japan Air 307. This is not a good time for the auto-tuning thing here to fail. What did I say? 118.4.
Right heading 280, yes, train is 214.
It's so buggy. It's not registering every single dial turn. And then it just does really weird stuff like that. Almost there. Come on. Tower, Japan Air 307, inbound, ILS 16, 2,000 feet. Okay. Speed brake can be back or
Japan Air
arm. This
307,
ground
heavy
spoilers.
Fukuoka Tower, winds calm. Runway 16, clear to land.
I think that 2 means we should be at flaps 2, so we're behind the 8 ball here. Clear to land, runway 16, Japan Air 307 heavy. At least it looks like it's starting to clear up and we can see land. But the runway is not on this little bit of land. It's way over there somewhere. So we've got 8.2 miles. Alright, so that's number 2 there, so I think that means flaps 2. Radon, I use them both. I use Beyond ATC sometimes when I want to have less things to deal with. I feel like Say Intentions is far more capable, but it also requires... it's also more likely to screw up. But Say Intentions has added so much stuff. That's so good. Though actually, I just realized, why did we not... I'm not sure why we didn't hear any cabin announcements from it today. Yeah, that's odd. Usually I get cabin announcements from it. We got none of that today. 5 miles. That's a lot of buildings over there. Flaps 3. What a cool sound. Might as well go and do... Oh, we don't have gear down yet. That's part of the problem. And we'll go flaps full. It does get very loud. But apparently that is just the sound of the gear in the wind, and you sit right above the gear. Ground spoilers arm. I had that weird issue yesterday too, where it works sometimes but not others. There we go. Oh, I think the speed brake was not fully retracted. I think I see the runway. Oh, that's what I forgot. I have not yet bound my AP disconnect button. I don't think I'll have time to do that real quick either. Okay. You know what? I screwed it up. That's my fault. I'm gonna go around. Japan Air 307, you need to go around.
Japan Air 307. Landing clearance cancelled. Execute missed approach procedure. Contact approach on 1190.65.
119.65, Japan Air 307. I forgot to activate the approach. Alright, that's my first go around in Say Intentions. It handled that like a champ. Japan Air 307, with you again after a missed approach. We'd like to try again, please.
Japan Air 307, turn left heading 335 vectors for the ILS runway 16 approach.
Japan Air
Left turn heading 335, Japan Air 307, heavy.
10,000 directive boost, half 878.
I don't even know if 2,000 feet is correct for that.
Japan Air 307.
It's not.
Contact Fukuoka. Radar on 128.45.
128.45, Japan Air 307.
Right on heading 210,
Well, we get to do this approach twice. Japan Air 307, gone around 2,000 feet, heading 335.
Japan Air 307, heavy, Fukuoka radar, identified. Arigato Fukuoka, QNH 1019er.
QNH 1019er, Japan Air 307. Now. I have no idea how to get this back in here. Let's try again. On the flight plan page. Maybe if I just put the approach in again. It'll be ILS 16. We don't need a star this time. Temporary flight plan. Okay, good. It's loaded it back in. Intuitive. I like it. I forgot to hit the arm. Okay, I don't think this is realistic. Why are there 15 different lines here? iniBuilds, what's up with that? That does not seem quite correct. It's like it's calculated out. I don't know what it's done there. That's very weird. Alright, we'll arm the auto brake again. Yeah, I think we've got a few too many lines on the ND there. That's not quite right. That's what I get for sitting in the back and watching the flaps extend instead of checking to make sure we're actually capturing the glide slope.
Japan Air 307, turn right heading 355.
Right turn heading 355, Japan Air 307 heavy. That's exactly kind of what I wanted it to do, because we want to make a turn like this back to Maltz or something like that, somewhere in that area. The ILS is still IFO 111.7, 158 on the course. That looks good.
Japan Air 307, contact Fukuoka, approach on 134.7.
134.7, Japan Air 307 heavy. Once again, it does not want me to do that. Also doesn't show up in there. That's annoying. Fukuoka approach, Japan Air 307 with you again, 2,000 feet, ILS 16.
Japan Air 307, heavy, Fukuoka approach, identified. Fukuoka QNH 1019er.
Affirmative, Japan Air 307 Heavy.
Japan Air 307, turn left heading 325.
Left turn 325, Japan Air 307 Heavy.
Japan Air 307, heavy, 4 miles from Moz. Turn left heading 245 until established on the localizer. Cleared for the ILS runway 16 approach.
Turn left heading 245 until established on the localizer. Cleared ILS 16 approach. Japan Air 307 Heavy. Okay, that should hopefully put us in line with the localizer, which we have there. So I am going to arm approach mode this time. There we go. Glide slope blue, loc blue. It's a little bit of a harsh intercept course. It's like 90 degrees, but all in all, I am very impressed with how Say Intentions handled this. Because all I said is like, we need to go around. And they gave us instructions. They handed us over just like you would want to. Really, really happy with that.
Japan Air 307, contact Fukuoka Tower on the 118.4.
118.4, Japan Air 307 Heavy. This time it preloaded that. Fukuoka Tower, Japan Air 307 Heavy. We are back inbound ILS 16, 2,000 feet. Fukuoka Tower, pardon me, Japan Air 307 Heavy, we're back again, ILS 16, 2,000 feet.
Japan Air 307, heavy, Fukuoka Tower, winds calm, runway 16 cleared to land.
Clear to land, runway 16, Japan Air 307 Heavy. Alright, we're going quite a bit slower than we need to, but again, we don't want to have to go around again. And the weather seems to be getting worse, not better. Yeah, so aside from the fact that it is for some reason drawn a lot of extra lines on the ND here, I must say the airplane handled that pretty well as well. All I did on the go around was raise the flaps, raise the gear, pull the altitude knob, and we're good to go. Though we didn't quite do that correctly. The actual altitude should be climb on heading 158 to 1600, then we should have turned right. Yeah, and we didn't actually follow the procedure, but we did ATC vectors, so whatever ATC give us, which I guess is what you would do. Okay, here comes the glide slope, so gear down again, flaps 3. Glide slope start, low, we're better this time. We did it right this time. Radon, that must be a bug. Those should not all be on there. I don't know why it drew that many. That's definitely a glitch. It's not supposed to do that. It did it when I re-entered the arrival, the approach. When I put that in again, it suddenly added all these extra routes. It's almost like it was trying to figure out different ways to get there, but that's not a thing. That doesn't happen. So I'm not sure why it did that.
All aircraft be advised. Information Juliet is now current. QNH 1019er.
Okay, terrain radar come off. Runway in sight. Autoland test? No, I want to see how it feels manually landing, though I might regret that. What's the wind? It's 2 knots from slightly behind us, but... Manual flight.
400.
Oh, where's that button? Damn it, I haven't got that bound yet.
Minimum.
I just want to see how the flare feels. Yeah, joystick right. I know, I gotta bind that.
100.
How's it feel if I move? Alright, not bad.
50. 40. 30. 20. Retard.
Reversers. No feet on the brake. BTV is activated. We're looking for Charlie 7 on the right. That's 4. All I'm using is a rudder to keep us on the center line, sort of. That's actually smooth. Gets a really good landing for me in an Airbus, especially for the first time. Reversers back to idle. Charlie 7 is right here. Look, it almost parked us right here. Auto brake disarm. That did a really good job. If I had done nothing, it would have just stopped us right here at Charlie 7. That's cool.
Japan Air 307, welcome to Fukuoka. Contact ground on 121.7.
121.7, Japan Air 307 Heavy. Ground Japan Air 307, vacated runway at Charlie 7, looking for a taxi to a gate, please. Sometimes... Oh, there we go.
Fukuoka ground. Taxi to International Terminal 50 right, via Charlie 7. Charlie 8, Mike. Charlie 5, Golf, Quebec. Have a good day.
See, no, I don't think any of these are actually runways. I mean taxiways. Taxi to Terminal 50 right via Charlie 7, Charlie 8, Mike, Charlie 5, Golf, Quebec. Japan Air 307 Heavy. Charlie 5, that's like it wants us to go back over the runway. That's also not where the international terminal is. So sometimes it just, that does not quite compute. So we're going to ignore that a little bit. We're going to taxi to the actual international terminal, which is actually a bit closer. Which is good. Taxi, we'll get the APU going, because I actually want to shut this airplane down properly and not just make it sit there. Flap open, start APU. I quite like this map. I think, is there a way? I thought somewhere I saw a way to center an aircraft. I thought there was... I don't know if that follows it, though. I don't think it follows it. So it's not quite a moving map in that sense. But it is a really, really nice way to have those on there. And that's actually nice because I tend not to use my Navigraph maps on the airport very well. So this is a really nice replacement for that. Speed brake. Get that down. Flaps. This is the international terminal right here, so I think we're going to take gate 57. We'll just park up right here. You can hear the flaps retracting. Take that. Parking brake set. APU is available, so engines off. Alright. We are 35 minutes late on the stream. Apologies. I do appreciate those of you that were chatting and sticking around. Hope you enjoyed that. I quite had a lot of fun trying out the A350. That was a really, honestly, that was a really good flight. All things considered, having to go around, which is not something I hardly ever do that, but I really screwed that one up, so I had to. Say Intentions handled it beautifully. The airplane handled it quite well. Very happy. I've got a couple of small things to fix on my bindings, like the autopilot disconnect, for example. But otherwise, this was a very good flight. There's some stuff to polish and smooth out, but overall, looks like iniBuilds did a pretty good job on this. So thanks for watching. Check out shacknews.com if you haven't done so before. We've got links to all of our social channels on the bottom of the screen. I'll be back next Thursday. Not sure what I'm doing yet. I'm supposed to fly like a bush flight in Canada, so I might do that. Either way, we'll likely be back in the sim. Thanks for tuning in. See you later, Steve. Have a good night. Radon, Joe, everybody else that was here. Thanks so much. We'll catch you all later. Take care.